Munich is directed by Steven Spielberg and stars Eric Bana as well as Daniel Craig. The story follows the events of when a group of Palestinians killed members of the Israeli Olympic team at the 1972 Olympics, and following this, 5 Jewish men were hired to kill those responsible for the attack. This is part 1 of my new Steven Spielberg series for this week, leading up to Ready Player One. I have been wanting to review the movie Munich for over a year now. It's one of my favorite Spielberg movies. It's one of those Spielberg movies that I feel most people have yet to see, but it's certainly a movie I heavily recommend. I compare Munich to that of Argo. These two are very similar style movies. If you guys did not know, I'm a huge Argo fan. In fact, Argo is one of my top 10 favorite movies of all time. So when I first watched Munich, I instantly thought Argo. Hence, one of the reasons why I love this film so much. At the very beginning of this movie, you hear John Williams' score, and let me say this is one of my favorite movie scores of all time. I think it fits so perfect with the story that's being told from Munich, and also goes well with the cultures that are portrayed in this film. Just like Argo, this movie puts you right in the center of the action pronto. You are in the bulk of this story right away. It's adrenaline pumping stuff because you see this attack happen at the very beginning of the movie, and the way it is directed just is a magnificent piece of filmmaking. Very intense, very violent. The beginning to this movie and Argo are very similar because when a film can put you on the edge of your seat in the very first scene, that's when you are ultimately invested from beginning to end, and these movies do that so well. Let me get into the performances here. Eric Bana, this is his movie. He is the lead star. In my opinion, this is his best performance. It's his most notable role. I'm sad that Eric Bana isn't in too much these days, but from this movie, I would say this is his most prominent role of all time. We also have Daniel Craig as one of the stars for this film. This is pre-James Bond era, but in this film, he's also fantastic. Excellent in the role he was given, one of my favorite characters from the film. One of the funnier things I always mention when it comes to Munich is how there is a Tom Hanks look-alike in this film. His name is Kieran Hines, another great actor, and I say they look alike because the character Kieran Hines plays is named Carl, and he wears very similar clothing to that of Tom Hanks' character in Catch Me If You Can, who's also named Carl. How weird is that? But really, what makes this movie so good is the setup, because you're not left with a bunch of dialogue, heavy scenes for the first 20 or 30 minutes where you do not care at all. This movie puts you right in this terrible situation from the beginning, and it never slows down. It's straightforward. We have good guys going after bad guys. This is their mission. Let's get to it. Once we get to the second act of this film, my God, this is some excellent directing by Steven Spielberg. There are multiple scenes included in the early second act where the characters here are going after those responsible, and the way it is filmed and how the editing works in this movie, it all makes up for the most intense, gripping scenes I've ever seen in filmmaking. This is some excellent stuff here, guys. There really isn't another way you can get as suspenseful as they did with this film. In each of the scenes where they are going after these guys who committed this attack, it is captivating. You are glued to the screen. It also helps with the great performances added in here. There is not one bad performance. Everybody is excellent. Munich is another one of those films that has deeper themes beneath each of its layers. You have to think about these characters and what their mission actually is. Are they doing the right thing? Is there actually a point to this mission when they get near the end of the film? You want to see these men succeed, but at the same time, will they ever actually finish a job? Because they keep replacing these men after each one is killed. And it makes up for an emotionally grabbing end to this movie. I have yet to add how this is one of the most violent Steven Spielberg movies we've had to date, and it makes for a better movie. There is blood, gore, it's handled extremely well, it's very gritty, but by far where Munich gets me the most whenever I watch this film is how it is so investing From the very beginning shot, the opening scene is fantastic, and the movie barely ever lets up. In every scene, you feel like you're with these men taking down these terrorists who committed this violent crime. There's really no doubt in my mind that Argo was inspired from Munich. If you guys have not seen Munich or even Argo, what are you doing with your lives? Please go watch both. But surprisingly, I do have a couple minor flaws with Munich. They aren't too big, but they're just always at the back of my head whenever I watch this film. After we're given a plethora of assassination scenes, we then have a slower sequence in the middle of the second act that kind of turns the movie down a notch. You're not that invested anymore. You don't care too much about what's going on. It's slight, it doesn't last too long, but I feel like that kind of derailed where this movie was going. Also, while I like the ending, I don't think it was handled properly. They should have done something different to make me care more. But at the end of the day, it just kind of ends. But those are really my only two flaws. Munich, in my opinion, is a great film, one of Steven Spielberg's best. People, go watch Munich. It's very satisfying. A movie that I feel Argo has gotten inspiration from. It is definitely recommended by myself. I'm gonna give Munich a 96%. It does not quite get that 100% rating I was ultimately aiming for the first time I saw this movie, but it's still a very enjoyable, satisfying film from beginning to end. Feels exactly like Argo. If you guys have ever seen Argo and you enjoyed it, I guarantee you, you will love this film. So if any of you guys happen to see Munich, let me know down below in the comment section if you agree or disagree with my opinion. So the next video this week for my Steven Spielberg series, I will be doing my top 10 Steven Spielberg movies of all time leading up to Ready Player One. Get ready for that video in a couple days, guys. If you're new to my channel, click that subscribe button, give this video a thumbs up if you enjoyed it. Thank you all so much for watching this video, and I hope you all have a fantastic day.